those of you that are here this morning. Do we have any news media with us now? No, okay. Any visitors that we need to recognize? Yes. Is there any objection to approving the okay. Okay, we do have some guests. Thank you, Tammy. J.W. Ragley, okay. Patrick Kelly, and Bryce, what's the last name? Fiddler. Okay. Thank you. Glad to have you with us today. Glad of your interest in what we do as the State Board. Is there any objection to approving the minutes as presented from our last meeting in May? Hearing none, the minutes are approved by unanimous consent. Is there any objection to approving the agenda as presented for today? Hearing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. Okay, we don't have anyone signed up for public comments, so we'll go right into our committee items. First on our agenda for approval this morning, the South Carolina Certification Assessment Program. I think Ms. Mary Hipp's going to be here today to talk to us about that.
Yes, ma'am. So this time every year, we bring to you any updates to our certification assessment program. These are the exams that are used for the certification of teachers in specific fields. Most of our subject area exams are developed and administered by Educational Testing Service, ETS, and they are continuously updating assessments to align with standards, practices in the field, and really the identification of the skills that beginning teachers need. So this year, they have regenerated 2 assessments that I'm bringing to you for approval. One is an assessment for early childhood education. So the new assessment is Praxis 5534. Changes here moves this test from a test with selected response and constructed response questions to solely selected response or multiple choice questions. It is a decrease in the number from 123 to 120, but a shift in the content of some of those questions or categories to better reflect the work of early childhood educators. The recommended cut score is 163, and cut scores are recommended by a multi-state standard setting panel of practicing classroom teachers, higher ed faculty, and other individuals with expertise in that content area. So that's the first recommendation. The second test is the assessment for middle level social studies. A pretty significant shift in this test as well. Again, moving from a format of both selected response and constructed response questions to simply selected response. But there's an increase from 120 to 150 questions on this assessment. Pretty substantial changes in the number of questions in American history, world history, and civics primarily. So I think you'll see a much more intentional focus on the subject area as taught in the middle level grades. Again, recommended cut score is provided for you. Our protocol in the last few years when we adopt a regenerated assessment is to bring the new test on board and leave the current assessment in place for a year. The current assessments, ETS will discontinue effective September 1, 2026. So again, these are for your approval as part of our certification assessment program.
Any questions any committee member has of Mary?
I'm not on this committee, but how middle level certification is the most difficult to find people to.
Yes.
So how is that going to affect having a certified, you know what I mean?
So I think it's really incumbent on our educator preparation programs to ensure that the content that they are teaching is aligned to the content standards that our K-12 schools are offering, and making sure, especially I think in middle-level social studies, for instance, you know, these candidates really need a depth of coursework in history, geography, civics, political science, at the undergraduate level as part of their gen ed curriculum. It's not just about teaching those concepts and those topics and those disciplines, but it's really having that in-depth knowledge. So I think there's a great deal of work anytime we or adopt a new assessment for our higher ed folks to take a serious look at it.
Are we in communication with higher?
Yes.
folks
Oh, yes,
to let
ma'am.
them know this?
Yes.
'Cause we
Yes.
don't have any middle level certified
Yeah.
social studies
Yep.
teachers if we don't.
So we will communicate this assessment update to them, and ETS will do a session on any tests that they want additional information on. So recently, we did a session on Praxis Core, some additional testing options coming through ETS. But if our higher ed partners want to look at this test more specifically, ETS will do that deep dive.
And Mary, aren't there reports of passage rates for the university in those?
Yes, so we can look at passage rates. We have access to them. ETS provides that data to us on an annual update as well. So I'm always interested, especially when we switch a test or a test is regenerated, to look at candidate performance on that assessment.
But you'll let us know how this goes in the year.
Yes, when we get our, so the testing year goes from September 1 to August 30th. So late fall is typically when we get our data from ETS, and so we're glad to bring that to y'all as information.
Just a comment, this may affect some of those that are going the alternate route that just take the praxis without that.
Yes, yes. So I was going to do this in between two items on this, but I'll jump in right here. So in state statute, there are two primary ways or pathways by which we can issue an educator certificate. One is for an individual who has completed a traditional college or university preparation program. So our candidates that go to South Carolina State or USC Columbia or Clemson, I say Clemson, I see the orange tie,
Why would you do
and complete that traditional preparation program, they have to, that student teaching is part of that. They have to pass the subject area and the pedagogy exams up front to be certified. The second pathway, we're authorized to issue a conditional certificate or an alternative route certificate. And this goes back really to 1984 to the Education Improvement Act that authorized this pathway. But the conditional certificate can be issued to an individual who has a bachelor's or a master's degree in a content field, but has not done the preparation. So really, that's the whole sort of dynamic upon which alternative certification is predicated. Individuals have the content knowledge, and they have to demonstrate that on whatever subject area test is in place. And then as part of the alternative certification program, they then focus on the pedagogy, how to teach that subject area, how to manage a classroom, how to learn the developmental needs of students, all of those things that we really have to be successful as teachers, but that comes as part of the alternative pathway over 3 years. So.
Any other questions, Mary?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Have you started any assessments on the effectiveness of the letters training?
So I think what we're starting to see as we get student data will be the first means for assessing the effectiveness of letters training.
And that starts when?
So the testing for SC Ready testing for our third graders was just this spring. So we have several years of data from letters. David is here. Is David still here? Or Matthew, do you want to say anything about letters and the effectiveness of letters? So. All right. So there's more coming at the 1 o'clock meeting, is what I hear. So
Okay.
about letters. So as far as looking at letters from the perspective of certifying educators, no. As far as looking at performance and how our students are performing, I think that's really the focus right now.
On the first part of that, do you have any idea what percentage of grammar school ESL teachers, not ESL, teachers are certified now, and how many are in the process of getting certified
In letters or
in letters?
That would have to come from
Them
our,
as well.
our instructional practices folks, yes. I could make up numbers, but you really don't want me to do that. Okay, don't make me do that, so.
Any other questions? If not, is there, turned it off, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to approve the South Carolina Certification Assessment Program for 25-26, the changes that Mary has spoken about? Is there a motion to accept, to approve?
Warren.
We have a motion has been made to approve. Is there a second? Board
second.
member Harrington has seconded the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries. Thank you. Now we have Dr. McLeod's, the South Carolina Program Approval Standards for Special Education Pre-Kindergarten to Grade 2.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Morning.
So I have the pleasure of presenting to you today one item for your approval, and that is a new set of specialty area program standards for special education pre-kindergarten to grade 2. So I thought long and hard about how I should use my time to kind of talk about this kind of very big topic.
That's a big topic.
Yes, ma'am, it is. And in thinking through my discussion with you, I wanted to kind of set the rationale as to why we are presenting standards in front of you and kind of what happened, what's going on in the landscape. So to begin with, as you know, we have 28 ed prep programs throughout the state, educator preparation programs. We have Coastal Carolina, USC, Clemson, Lander, SC State. And all of those ed prep programs have a variety of programs to prepare candidates to become teachers. They have programs to prepare candidates to become early childhood teachers, PE teachers, and special education teachers. We're going to focus specifically on those special education programs for the context of this program approval item. All of those programs have to adhere under state law to certain program standards. Much of those standards are written at the national level through national kind of standard programs, through different kind of bodies. And that ensures that if you're educating a special education candidate to become a teacher here in South Carolina, if you use those national standards, which are published by the Council for Exceptional Children, CEC, that the same kind of preparation here in South Carolina, you're going to see that through a candidate being prepared in Montana, Vermont, all throughout the 50 states for the most part, who are preparing candidates to become special education teachers. So CEC, the national body who makes the standards, if you are preparing special education teachers, CEC has long had one set of standards, and they were to prepare candidates to become special ed teachers, focusing in the field of K-12, which was very similar to our certification grade span here in South Carolina, which is PK to 12. About 5 years ago, in December of 2020, the beginning of 2021, CEC decided to create a second set of standards. These are called the early age standards, and they gear preparation to prepare you to teach students birth to age 8. So now CEC has two sets of standards: early age, birth to age 8, and K to 12. And under state law, ed prep programs throughout the state, if you prepare special education teachers, you now had to adhere to both sets of those standards because the certification grade span here in South Carolina is PK to grade 12. So this kind of brought a misalignment, you could say. And what the agency saw was the faculty within ed prep programs were having a difficult time meeting those early age standards because, once again, the certification is PK to grade 12. And so members of the PRC, the Professional Review Committee, which is composed of EPP faculty, wrote a letter to the South Carolina Department of Education asking for a work group to be created to create South Carolina-specific PK standards. That letter was also created in a similar vein by the South Carolina Deans Alliance. So all of the deans with South Carolina's EPPs created a similar letter asking for a work group to be created to create South Carolina-specific standards. The call for the work group went out in spring of '24, and the work group started their work in fall of '24. In that work group were 8 faculty, or 8 members of the work group. 6 of the 8 came from EPPs in the state, a mixture of public and private EPPs. The remaining 2 members of the work group came from the agency, and they were housed in the Office of Special Education Services. All 8 members of the work group have extensive knowledge in the field of special education. And what that work group decided to do was to take those early age CEC standards and revise them so they fit the needs of South Carolina. And not just the EPPs, but we're talking to make sure the EPPs are producing candidates to become teachers who will then be able to teach day one those children sitting in our public schools in that PK field. And so those are the standards that you see in front of you today. Those standards, the committee, the work group met all throughout the fall of '24. Those standards were then presented to the PRC in the spring of '25, and these are the standards that you see in front of you today. So it is the agency's recommendation that the state board approve the special education standards for pre-K to grade 2.
I have a question, Madam Chair. How would you characterize the new standards? Are they more rigorous or less rigorous than this?
I would say they are just as rigorous. I think the difference here is that we had expertise in special education in the South Carolina context who are able to take the existing standards and make sure that they are meeting the needs for our students. Because when a ed prep program prepares someone to become a special ed teacher, you are grade span PK to grade 12. And so the issue was that there had to be that kind of touch point with PK. And so the current CEC standards were not meeting that. And so I'm not trying to be elusive in my response to you, sir. I think that these standards are
more specific
just
early on
rigorous.
in the child's
Yes,
education
sir.
process.
Yes, sir.
And this will go into effect.
This would go into effect upon approval. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
And what you're really seeing with our EPPs, many EPP faculty roll off contract over the summer. So of course we would communicate this, of course, with all of our EPP faculty. But I think based on the work group and our conversations, I think they would very much applaud and be thankful.
So probably a lot of them were part of the work group, and so they already know what, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
good,
ma'am. This
good.
has been in much conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sure. Okay. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment.
That's okay.
I would like to commend you all for doing this for our teachers and students here in South Carolina.
Thank you.
This, as we said in the beginning, this is a hugely complicated issue to those of us that are familiar with children with disabilities. I mean, it's wide range of skills and issues, and so this was a big task. Big task. Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the South Carolina program standards for special education, pre-kindergarten to grade 2?
I'll make the
Madam
motion.
Chair.
Okay, we have several people who made a motion. Okay. Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second, Warren.
The motion has been second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. Thank you. That was very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, I think it's Miss Jacqueline's time now.
Ma'am,
This is Low Country Educator Alternative Pathway Additional Certification Fields.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. The Low Country Educator Alternative Pathway, or LEAP, as we call it, is the alternative program offered by Beaufort County School District, which was initially approved by the State Board in March of 2023. LEAP had its first cohort of educators in the classroom this past year, in the 24-25 year, and there were 3 math teachers, 1 science teacher, and 1 middle-level language arts teacher. They were serving as teacher of record, of course, in Beaufort County schools. LEAP has submitted a proposal to add the certification fields of early childhood education, elementary education, and special education multi-categorical based on the district's needs. So a review of the proposal was conducted by the SCDE, by the external peer review content experts. Feedback was shared and the program was revised as required. And then on April 11th, the Professional Review Committee voted to recommend the additional certification fields be approved by the State Board. If the State Board approves the additional certification fields, LEAP will be able to enroll candidates in certification fields this summer.
Any questions of Jacqueline?
Madam Chair, I do have I don't know if you even know the answer to this, not a question particularly about this. I'm glad to see Multicat is included in there, but on the PACE program, it's still ED only for PACE?
Currently, yes.
Is there any discussion of going Multicat for that? Because I think that's better needed for the districts.
That we've had some discussions over the last few years. I think our challenge right now, as we are just a year away from a test of reading being required for certification in our special education fields, I think the reassessment is looking more broadly at does special education in any form stay in PACE at this time? Or do we look at partnering with CREATE? Because my concern is making sure that those beginning special education teachers have the ability to teach reading. And again, with that test kicking in next fall, this is our year to make that decision. So Multicat is by far the preferred special education field for districts. So
Not all of us agree with that. Okay, have a motion to accept the Low Country Educator Alternative Pathway, LEAP, as it was called, additional certification fields.
I make the motion. Warren?
A second.
And the motion has been made and has been seconded, and all those in favor, I think we did that already, did we? Okay, okay. All those in favor say aye. Thank you. Jacqueline, it's still you. She's still on. Now we're going to talk about Teach Florence 1 revised admission criteria for world languages.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. So Teach Florence 1 is the alternative route program offered by Florence 1 schools. That was initially approved by the board in October of 2023. Teach Florence 1 also had its first cohort of educators this past year, the 24-25 school year. There were 21 teachers serving as teacher of record in Florence 1 this past year, and they were spanning 9 different certification fields. On February 25th, 2025, Teach Florence 1 submitted a proposal to really expand the admission criteria for candidates seeking French or Spanish teacher certification. The revised criteria will allow native or heritage speakers of French or Spanish to apply for admission based on the submission of a bachelor's degree or the equivalent. So that would be as assessed by a credential evaluation service that is a member of either NACES, the National Association of Credential Educator Evaluation Services, or ACE, which is the Association of International Credential Evaluators, and a qualifying score on approved subject area assessments adopted by the SBE. The review was conducted by the SCDE, the External Peer Review Committee, and was shared. That was revised as required. And on April 11th, the Professional Review Committee, or the PRC, voted to recommend the additional certification fields for approval of the State Board.
Okay, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the Teach Florence 1 revised admission criteria for world languages?
I'll make the motion, Madam Chair. Richard.
Board Member Harrington made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Warren.
Warren made second the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have no items for information today. Is there a motion to place items that we have heard, those 4 items today, 1, 2, 3, and 4, on the consent agenda? A motion?
So
Any
moved.
board member make a motion to approve the consent agenda? We have a motion. Is there a second to
I'll
place
second
these
it.
items on the consent agenda?
Second.
Second by Dingle. All those in favor of this signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Do we have any other business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
And is there a second? And a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We're done.